in this frame. In the minute that I was um, holding my phone just a second ago, waiting to press the final go live button, um, I thought to myself, head in the clouds, eyes eyes on the phone. Although it was something along those lines. Maybe head in the clouds, eyes in the microscope. Not in a scientific way, but it seemed like a good way to describe myself. And the way that this conclusion happened is I was thinking about how, in reality, everyday life stuff, minor inconveniences like having to wait an extra minute to go live, not even that it was an inconvenience, but that seems like such a small detail. Yet, in that less than a minute that I was waiting, um, and this might have something to do with the fact that I intended such a thing in the first place, I came up with that expression. I wasn't trying to come up with an expression, but I did become aware of a general trait that I have, which is thinking on a grandiose level and noticing or, perceiving on the opposite of that. Sorry for the camera manipulation. I'm trying to relight my pipe tobacco. Hi guys, here again with my pipe tobacco, and so from the title, 9 o'clock. Last one was called 5 o'clock. I was actually just listening to that, and when I theorize about these things, I'm pretty fast to come to conclusions, you know, so that um, definitely, definitely requires the awareness of the possibility of being wrong in almost every situation. Because it's borderline drawing assumptions, at least seemingly in some cases. I was listening to the stream from yesterday. The way I form these monologues or things or whatever is basically by thinking something really vague or general and then seeing if it could somehow apply to everything. That's my move when it comes to this stuff. And so my brain, my subconscious natural mental responses to stuff are always very grandiose. And I think a lot of people have this. You can think of like a hypothetical for almost anything. Oh, that person just laughed as they walked by you. All of a sudden, details of a entire story pop into your head in the flash of an eye. Oh, I've got something hanging off my shoe. Oh, uh, they just told a joke, and all this. Somehow we try to connect things. Our brains seem to do that naturally. The ketchup stain on the cutting board seemed to demonstrate um, a process that is a very big part of life, and that is uh, the unstructure. That is the wiggliness of existence, and a sort of sense of permanence that implies, albeit seemingly counterintuitive. The fact that this existence here is not permanent is connected with um, the instability of physical matter, which, when you say the word physical matter, it's almost impossible. It has such a gravity or a magnetism that if you don't already know, how could anything physically matter be not permanent, be not, solid, as I'm trying to get at? And that's because, well, time exists in such a way that every brick will become dust, every diamond will become air, and then the air will become space, and then, you know what I mean. So a ketchup landing on a flat cutting board is kind of a representation of this. Think about a black hole. They say nothing can escape. It's a one-way transaction. Information is destroyed as soon as it crosses the event horizon. That's a law of, and then, but the thing is, back when Stephen Hawking in the 80s was really bringing out a lot of new knowledge and theories about black holes and stuff, because this is before we had ever seen one. This is before we had ever detected one with an instrument. He hypothesized about something that they now call Hawking radiation, which is stuff that comes out of black holes, and black holes evaporate. But this doesn't break any of the laws that govern, that we knew about these black holes, because Hawking radiation is an altered form of energy that, it doesn't contain any information from before it went in. Anything that you could learn about what went into a black hole is destroyed when the Hawking radiation evaporates. And so this preserves, the law of conservation of energy or whatever. Permanence, I feel, can exist in this universe, in the sense that the fact that the object that got destroyed existed and the fact that it got destroyed are both ineffable events that happened. Therefore, they can't be undone. Anything that was a result of that action also is an effect of its existence. I have a theory, another theory that might somehow go against this notion. I mean, it's silly and there's no reason to even entertain it right now, but so if black holes destroy information, but then actually Hawking radiation destroys the process of the black hole destroying this information, it's not exactly that it works that way. I don't know exactly how it works, but it seems as though if something can destroy black holes, which are the destroyer of all things with mass, then it seems not ridiculous to think that something could undo the process or whatever of Hawking radiation escaping. You know, there exists a mechanism in the universe that will take this Hawking radiation and do something with it. That's just an unrelated hypothesis about nothing, but the whole point of today's video is, you know, it seemed like I was making a claim yesterday that no, that this is a one-way process of transformation of information. Maybe the universe is not reverse engineerable. Maybe even if we had every single detail about life right now, you know, we couldn't predict the future or the past or what, you know, we couldn't know everything based on one freeze frame. A lot of people think we could, and now I'm saying maybe because I don't want to, as far as I'm aware, there's no actual evidence that knowing every single detail about every single gluon and muon and all that exists right now, which is like, why wouldn't we be able to go measure it, go describe it? Okay, if all of them behave that way, now we don't have to count every single one. Apply this to every particle we know about. Yeah, in a painstakingly long process to try to reverse engineer the entire universe, figure out what happened before the Big Bang, figure out what's going to happen in 100 million years, all this stuff. Maybe it's not possible. Maybe it's not possible. Maybe information is transformed in a way that is not linear necessarily, but you know what I mean. It goes away from its source. Even if it branches off in a million different directions, it never gets back to where it was. And people are implying this, I think, and suggesting it. If you go back to what we were talking about with the Qualia Research Institute video I saw on YouTube, people are saying that experiences that happen in hyperbolic space, you know, which are viewable or observable by us with certain chemicals, and maybe other ways like meditation or rituals and stuff. Tangentially, you know, a lot of really good things that aren't related to these chemicals like dimethyltryptamine and you know, MOA inhibitors or whatever in ayahuasca tea that allow your brain to function in a different way, to view these hyperbolic spaces and see these patterns that are actually governed by the laws of geometry and stuff. When you're in a hallucinogenic state and you're experiencing a vision of something that is so beyond what you've always considered to be reality, it kind of breaks down any inhibition of the laws of physics or anything like that. They all go out the window in some cases. It dissolves any grasp on the idea of geometrical rules or connections with real life, such as 17 arrangements of triangles can fit in a circle. You know, that's just the way it is. Until you get past, until the trip, the energy, the situation is saturated to the point where there can be no more. Once you go beyond that point, you get into fourth dimensional hypercubes and stuff. But once the, you know, once the system is approaching saturation, you can see very defined patterns that look a lot like things that exist in 11th century art. If you look at the mosques of, the shapes and the symmetry and the colors and the patterns and stuff, these are all things. So there's this real kind of essence and that structure, you know, natural thing that connects every experience. Doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter how much you have. If you're seeing this, they call it wallpaper when it's a low level, um, abides to the laws of Euclidean geometry, as everything in the physical world does, on an atomic level up. Planets, stakes, movies, they all function based on the laws of Euclidean geometry. So I just wanted to go tangential for a second to mention that in the process of kind of uncovering some of these secrets about these chemicals that exist in these plants, a lot of stuff that is good has happened. Genocide is a pretty real problem in the world history of Earth, and we have not heard about so many tribes and families of people who have been murdered. I don't want to just dive into someone's opinion about something, but there's a lot of important things that can come to light because of the exploration of the Amazon in search of plants that haven't been discovered. For example, preserving the rainforest and stuff, ethnobotanists who are trying to do really good work that is directly tied with exploring the possibilities of these psychedelic chemicals and non-psychedelic chemicals, medicinal chemicals and stuff. But the point is, the experience of DMT, has a line, at the very least, to uh, to connect the real world, or what we see every day, with an experience that's not describable with those kind of litmuses, you know. Anyway, the ketchup. The ketchup. It seemed like I was making a very bold claim. That's the vibe I was getting from yesterday's video as I listened to it today. So I wanted to come back here and entertain an alternate idea. You know, maybe there is significance in the pattern that is displayed. Maybe pattern's not the right word. Maybe there's significance in the display of these universal forces coalescing in a moment such as that. And I keep thinking of the duality between life as a being and shapes. Uh, Life is not a shape. There are no shapes in life. It's all oblong. It's all obscure. It's all nothing geometry is not really the best way to describe physical space unless you're designing something like a building, you know. Uh, I am personally connected to this. A lot of this stuff about the plants was directly taken from Terence McKenna and his adventures in the Amazon rainforest and the invasion of the UK. I believe it was the UK government or whoever, you know, maybe it was the developed world coming in and taking rubber from these tribes people and forcing them into slavery. Uh, I believe this was in the 60s. No, it was either the 20s or the 60s. So, very last thing I need to say. Uh, visual patterns, visuals. I see them. You know, it's not. There has to be a way for our brain to be able to exist and process on a level that is equal to an experience like that, but without being reliant on the chemical. That's a theory. I mean, that's a really bold claim though, because it's not even a necessary thing. It wouldn't be necessary. If there is if there is something in these hallucinations or catch-up displays, then, you know, I would say explore that. You might find something in it. Whatever you find could possibly be connected with how it got there in the first place. It's like a black hole, you know? You squeeze a ketchup bottle, it lands on a cutting board. You then measure a random piece of the ketchup, look at it under a microscope. Next thing you know, you've got the velocity and how much force you squeeze the bottle with. Maybe, maybe. Where we are right now in the universe is a random place at a random time. And so it's going to take a while for our grasp of it to uh, take us far away from menial predictions and stuff, you know? The understanding of the universe, I feel like, will be so broad in several hundred years, or maybe 1,000, if we continue to develop and don't destroy ourselves. Uh, End video.